Greetings all, and welcome to the 12th episode of TM Technical Movement. For today, we'll be looking at the Thundershock, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Shockwave, Discharge, Charge Beam, Electro Ball, and Volt Switch attacks, and the Thunderwave and Charge techniques.
While electricity itself is considered to be a dangerous thing because of the risk of death it brings in most cases, Pokémon able to utilize electricity are generally incapable of producing lethal shocks because their attacks are designed to operate at high voltages instead of high amperage, which is the factor responsible for most electricity-related deaths. As such, moves like the Thunder Shock attack are designed to inflict damage on the opposition in such a way as to cause them pain and potentially stun them without actually killing them. The Thunder Shock itself is merely a weak shock designed to damage an opponent without requiring the user to exert a lot of energy and try to make it less than powerful, but nonetheless easy enough for even newborn electric types to use properly. Moreover, despite its low damage potential, the electricity used in a Thunder Shock attack may cause an electrical overload within a target's brain and muscle systems, in turn inflicting paralysis about 10% of the time. This can more than make the attack worth using in battle if nothing more powerful is available, and a combination of the attack's normally perfect accuracy rate, it makes the Thunder Shock attack a great way for young electric types to take down water and flying types with ease. Due to its use of pure electricity to inflict damage, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Thunder Shock attack. Armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack, unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The damage the Thunder Shock attack can actually deal is minor enough that it won't be of much threat in most conflicts, but if it must be avoided, only switching for a Pokémon that is resistant or otherwise immune to electric-type damage will help to counter its effects. Compared to the weak Thunder Shock attack, the Thunderbolt attack is a fairly intense shock designed to damage an opponent without requiring the user to exert a lot of energy to produce the electric blast, in turn making it both powerful and easy enough to use that a lot of stamina isn't required. Unfortunately, because the attack comes in the form of a fairly concentrated burst, only a handful of electric-type Pokémon actually have the raw power needed to use it, and instead more often learn the uncontrollable Discharge attack. Much as with the basic Thunder Shock attack, the electricity used in a Thunderbolt attack may cause an electrical overload within a target's brain and muscle systems, in turn inflicting paralysis about 10% of the time. In combination with the attack's fairly high base power and normally perfect accuracy rate, this makes the Thunderbolt attack a great move all around that can deliver significant special damage to any non-ground type opponent it actually hits. It was these features that led Silphco to release the move as TM24 within their first generation line of TMs, but claims that was unfair led to its discontinuation afterwards. Due to an overwhelming response from trainers though, the move was quickly reinstated as TM24 within the company's third generation line of TMs, and maintained as such within almost all successive generations and the recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, until it was converted into TR08 for the company's first generation line of TRs, and then TM126 for the 9th generation line of TMs, all to the delight of trainers everywhere. As a consequence of using pure electricity to deal damage, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Thunderbolt attack. Armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack, unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The damage the Thunderbolt attack can actually deal is strong enough that it can easily prove to be a devastating blow against many opponents, so it should be countered with strong defenses at all times, and perhaps a type advantage to reduce the damage it is capable of actually inflicting. While many electric-type attacks are sourced mainly from the user when executed, the Thunder attack itself is effectively a simple but full-powered lightning bolt generated within an intense body of a thundercloud, which the user must usually expend energy to produce in otherwise fair weather. Since the thundercloud generated by the user can only extend to a given size, the cloud is not guaranteed to actually strike the target with electricity perfectly. If it does, however, the damage done is immense. Moreover, the electricity used in a Thunder attack may cause an electrical overload within the target's brain and muscle systems, in turn inflicting paralysis about 30% of the time. In combination with the attack's high base power, this can certainly make the attack worth using in the right circumstances. Interestingly enough, the Thunder attack is one of the few moves capable of striking opponents in the first phase of a Fly, Bounce, or Sky Drop attack, and will actually deal twice as much damage as normal if it hits a Pokémon in the first phase of any of these attacks. In addition, the accuracy rate of the Thunder attack is dependent upon the weather. If it is bright and sunny out, the user will be unable to produce as large of a thundercloud as normal, and the move's accuracy rate will be reduced to 50%. Conversely, if it is raining out, the user can transform the entire visible sky into a massive thundercloud, raising the move's accuracy rate to 100%. It was these features, and in particular the move's high base power, that led Silphco to release the move as TM25 within the first generation line of TMs. The move has remained such a popular attack among traders of all types that has effectively maintained its TM status with no drop in sales throughout almost all successive generations of TMs, including the recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, only having been converted into TR09 in recent times for the company's first set of TRs, and finally TM166 for the 9th generation line of TMs. Much as with other electrical attacks, there's no way to directly counter the Thunder attack. The relatively agile Pokémon can still dodge it with enough room. Armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack, unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The damage the Thunder attack can actually deal is incredibly high and very difficult to recover from in most cases, so the move's potential for devastation is beyond high. Evasive tactics and adverse weather are therefore highly recommended for eliminating any chance of the attack actually hitting at all, as are strong defenses and protection against paralysis if the attack does hit. The Shockwave attack is among the more uncommon electric-type moves learned by Pokémon, but is nonetheless a dangerous strike that can efficiently damage anything the user can reach within the immediate area. The Shockwave itself is a burst of electrical energy ejected from the user at such immense speeds that it literally breaks the sound barrier, producing a quiet but discernible shockwave that can be heard or felt a good distance away. Unlike the Sonic Boom attack, the damage done by this move is due to electricity released, and thus possesses a discernible base power dependent upon the user. What makes its execution important, however, is that the release of electricity occurs so quickly that no target present on the battlefield within its range can actually dodge it, granting it a perfect accuracy rate in all normal situations. This alone makes the Shockwave attack an annoying if not decided move that can make otherwise inaccurate Pokémon lethal forces on the battlefield that should not be underestimated. Despite its moderate damage potential, it was this feature, as well as the fact that the attack is affected by items like King's Rocks, that ultimately led to Silph Co releasing the move as TM34 within its 3rd and 4th generation line of TMs. Unfortunately, a decline in the move's popularity in recent years eventually led to its discontinuation, much to the chagrin to those who favor its capabilities, though it was eventually reinstated temporarily within the company's recent Sinnoh Special Edition set. Due to its unique properties, it is almost impossible to counter or dodge the Shockwave attack. Armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack, unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The Shockwave attack's moderate damage capacity only belittles the sheer devastation it can cause among teams that prefer to use accuracy and evasion differences to their advantage, but since dodging is out of the question, the only tactics that can be taken against it are to bring out a ground-type Pokémon or one that has high enough defenses to take the blow with little trouble. The Discharge attack can effectively be thought of as an unfocused version of the Thunderbolt attack that relies not on the quality of the attack for effectiveness in battle, but the quantity of it instead. A Discharge attack is nothing more than a massive discharge of electricity into the surrounding airspace designed to inflict considerable special damage on anything that manages to get within range of the electrical burst. Though the Discharge attack might not be quite as powerful as a Thunderbolt attack, the fact that it spreads out equally over a wide area makes it very difficult to dodge and capable of actually hitting multiple nearby opponents. Unfortunately, this also means that the ally closest to the user will get hit by the full brunt of the attack as well. Even so, the Discharge attack releases more electrical energy than most other electric-type attacks could ever hope to do, and has a 30% chance of paralyzing anything it manages to hit, so it is more than worthwhile to have this attack at one's disposal when the opposition brings multiple beasts into the fray that are vulnerable to a good shock, especially since the attack is affected by items such as King's Rocks. Using electricity as a weapon, there is no way to directly counter-dodge the Discharge attack. Armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The Discharge attack might be fairly powerful and capable of striking multiple targets in most cases, but considering that it will equally damage the ally closest to its user, the effects will be considerable on their side of the field as well, and should be taken advantage of in combination with strong defenses and possibly protection against paralysis to turn the otherwise dangerous move against them. Like the Rapid Spin attack, the Charge Beam attack is designed to do something other than simply deal damage, that being energizing the user and increasing its ability to utilize special attacks effectively. The only difference is that it can't do its job perfectly, but is capable of inflicting moderately decent damage. A Charge Beam is effectively a bundled burst of electrical energy designed to inflict mild damage against a target but, more importantly, generate a feedback of electrical energy when it manages to strike a creature whose body can be freely used as a conduit for a short period of time. As a result of the move's abnormal mechanics, most electricity used in the otherwise costly attack is delivered right back to the user with only a small portion of the power actually damaging the opponent. While seemingly ineffective at first, this massive feedback will actually raise the user's special attack stat about 70% of the time, which is far more than any other similar move could ever possibly do. This makes the otherwise costly and underpowered attack a virtual weapon of decimation after a few uses, as it can quickly and effectively raise the user's special attack stat to the point where even another Charge Beam strike can feel like a full-fledged Thunder attack or worse. It was for this reason that Silph Co decided to release the move as TM57 within the 4th through 7th generation line of TMs, from which it gained enormous popularity among special attack specialists of all types, though it was discontinued in the 8th generation line, only to be reinstated as part of the recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, and then TM23 in the 9th generation line. With electrical energy as its primary power source, there is no way to directly counter the Charge Beam attack. Thankfully, moderately agile Pokémon can still dodge the attack with enough room. armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The charge beam attack is nowhere near damaging enough to be a considerable threat in most fights, but the fact that it can easily make the user's special attacks hit like a ton of bricks nonetheless makes it a dangerous weapon that should be countered with powerful attacks and techniques to immobilize the opposition or otherwise knock them out before it increases their offensive strength too much. The Electro Ball attack is a unique electric type attack that is relatively ineffective against opponents that are about as fast or faster than the user, but against slower opponents it can potentially be a nightmare. The Electro Ball itself is a charged ball of electrical energy that the user fires rapidly after producing it. As the projectile travels along a pathway, it becomes gradually weaker over time, though the user can slightly adjust it for the sake of dealing with extensive distances. As such, the amount of damage this attack actually does will depend on how far the target can move before the attack manages to strike them. Sadly, the timing for this process is very tight, so the attack will only have a slightly moderate base power of 60 if the target is more than 50% as fast as the user in terms of their speed stat. As the difference becomes more and more inclined in the user's favor, however, this attack will deal more extensive damage, eventually reaching a devastating base power of 150 when the opponent's speed is less than or equal to 25% of the user's speed. This can make the attack fairly temperamental and difficult to pull off in some cases, but when applied correctly, this can prove to be one of the best anti-defensive moves available for taking down defensively strong but slow-moving Pokémon, especially since it is affected by items like King's Rocks, which helps to explain why it was made into TR-80 for Silphco's first line of TRs, and then TM-72 for the 9th generation line of TMs. Given its use of pure electricity to inflict damage, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Electro Ball attack. Armor will additionally do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The Electro Ball attack may not be a conventional move by any standards, but considering a wide variety of Electro-type Pokémon can learn it, it is still an attack to look out for and should be countered with exceptionally fast Pokémon to limit its overall power as much as possible. The Volt Switch attack is a rare move that a scan few Electro-type Pokémon have developed as a way of protecting themselves against the attacks of others, especially predators, in the wild, although in battle it ends up having the same overall effect as the otherwise more common U-turn attack. The Volt Switch attack itself is essentially little more than a ball of electricity that is generated and fired by the user quickly at a nearby target. When this orb of electricity impacts the target, the energy core at its center detonates, releasing a powerful burst of energy that not only inflicts decent damage, but sends out a dazzling burst of light in the process. While the target is distracted, the user then uses this opportunity to quickly retreat from battle and forcefully use a small amount of electricity to short-circuit the captured devices of an ally not in battle. As long as the attack does not defeat the last Pokémon in the opponent's party, the end result will be that the user will forcefully switch places with another teammate. This can make the otherwise average attack a strategy wrecker in battle, as it can allow a trainer with a bad type matchup to switch out for something better suited for the opponent at hand without completely wasting their turn in battle, especially since the move is affected by items like King's Rocks, though it is noted the user will still take double damage from pursuit attack if they are slower than the opposition when switching out. It is for this reason that Silphco decided to release the move as TM-72 within the 5th through 7th generation line of TMs and the recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, as well as TM-80 in their 8th generation line and TM-48 in the 9th generation line, from which it has gained a steady cult following among professional trainers. The Volt Switch attack is a deceptive move that can be practically impossible to counter and dodge as a result of the sudden change that occurs at its conclusion. Moreover, armor will do little to help reduce the damage dealt by this attack unless the armor has electricity dampening properties. The Volt Switch attack might not have any special properties to make it a serious threat in most battles, but even if it means only denying the inevitable, the attack can prove to be an effective way of dragging on a battle, and should be prepared for with strong defenses and a diverse set of moves to take on whatever opponent is thrown out next after the attack hits. While most Electro-type attacks that actually strike an opponent are designed to inflict damage, the Thunder Wave technique does not have the capacity to do so because it is delivered at a fairly low voltage. Instead, the move is designed to spread out in a wide arc to strike opponents easily and deliver charge at a rapid rate. In other words, the move is low voltage and high amperage. This prevents the move from actually dealing significant damage to the opposition, but because the charge in the move is being delivered rapidly, it causes temporary nerve damage in the target's muscles that induces paralysis. Because the move relies on electricity in a very direct manner, the Thunder Wave itself is fairly difficult to avoid and effective against almost all types of opponents. The only Pokémon that are immune to its effects are electric and ground types, and Pokémon with the Limber, Lightning Rod, Motor Drive, and Volt Absorb abilities. Not surprisingly, it was the move's simple execution and high accuracy rate that made Silphco release the move as TM-45 within their 1st generation line of TMs, but was later discontinued because the company saw little potential in it. Increased use of the move in recent times, however, had eventually led the company to reinstate the move as TM-73 within its 4th through 7th generation line of TMs and recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, TM-14 in the 8th generation line, and TM-82 in the 9th generation line, much to the delight of trainers everywhere. Moderately agile Pokémon, as well as moves, items, and abilities that either cure or prevent paralysis, are highly recommended for countering the Thunder Wave technique. The Charge technique is a simple but effective technique learned by a number of Electro-type Pokémon that enables them to gather additional electrical power in the midst of battle in order to increase the damage they can do. In effect, the Charge technique involves the user gathering and absorbing large quantities of electrical charge within its body in order to boost the overall amount of electricity in their bodies they have to use. This boost only lasts so long before it dissipates back into the surrounding atmosphere, but if the user uses an electric-type attack afterwards, the damage dealt by that attack will be doubled. Moreover, the sudden influx of electrical charge actually generates a slight energy barrier over the user after the move is used, raising their special defense stat in the process. It might not have very long-lasting effects, but for electric types of all sizes and ages, a quick charge can more than often help them deliver a crushing blow to an otherwise unbeatable opponent, which might explain why it was made into TM-173 and Silph Co's 9th generation line of TMs. Attacks and techniques that raise a Pokemon's special attack stat or lower an opponent's special defense stat are highly recommended for dealing with the Charge technique, as is swapping out a Pokemon for one that is either resistant against or immune to damage from electric-type attacks.
That's it for this episode, so stay tuned for the next episode of TM Technical Movement. Thank you all for watching this video. It always brings me great joy to see others enjoying the work I do to try and make the world of Pokemon and the fascinating creatures that lay inside of it feel as real as they possibly can. If you really enjoy my work, please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe, as I always do my best to respond to any and all comments that are left on my videos. In addition, if you wish to learn more about my work and help support it, you can find links to my Patreon page, as well as email and other contact information to my work on DeviantArt in the video description down below. Furthermore, you can find a link to my Discord server there as well if you'd like to get a first glimpse at what videos are coming up next and converse with other fans of the world of Pokemon. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and have a wonderful rest of your day.